Hello everybody, welcome back. It's Business and I am doing a review on the New Orleans Tier 8 United States Cruiser. And this is a model by Tans, the skin, and I really like it quite a bit. Adds a lot of visual flair to it, of course, and I like that it breaks up the monotony of the usual gray and all that awful rust and stuff. But I'll leave the link in the description, of course, for this specific skin. So let's get to it. I like the ship, and you know, the Pensacola that comes before it, I actually kind of sort of like that too, and you know, find ways to make it useful and whatnot. But you know, it starts off with 30,000 health, and you know, first upgrade gives you about 5,000 more. You get a little bit more maneuverability and AA rating as well. Curiously, you have the same number of mounts with the stock hull as the B hull, so you have 40 mounts, but a different arrangement of those guns. And generally, I'm rather underwhelmed by the AA on this. I mean, of course, defensive fire boosts the damage up quite a bit. I mean, the secondaries work as a measure of anti-air defense as well. But when it comes to the main battery, the stock situation is not that great. Only 4 rounds a minute, so you have a 15-second reload, and the stock rudder shift is 7.2 seconds. And granted, this is with the rudder shift, so it is higher than that. Your concealment is 12.4 stock. When you get the upgrade, you go down to 5.5 seconds on the rudder shift, which is pretty nice. And when it comes to the guns, that stays the same, but as you can see over there on the left, there is a gun upgrade, so we'll get to that in a second. Your AA does go all over the place when you get the B hull. Damage goes up, range for the most part goes down, which is really shitty, unfortunately, but you know, it's otherwise going to be an excessively powerful ship. So you do have a range upgrade to go to 16.2. I'm not sure. I think I may even suggest that first, because goddamn is it difficult trying to play this at tier 8 or higher, which is very, very likely, of course, with the stock range. Now when you get the gun upgrade, you get boosted up to 4.3 rounds a minute, and yay, that's a huge upgrade, huh? So nothing terribly exciting. You do have really good turret traverse on this, and that's actually one of the best things about it, combined with the maneuverability, which we will go over here in just a moment. But let's jump over to our upgrades here. Of course, main battery mod 1, reduce the chance of detonation and getting those turrets knocked out. Pretty much doesn't work, but man, you know, whatever. AA mod 2 for the additional range, so I have that combined with advanced firing training and basic firing training to give my AA as much of a boost as I can just through that upgrade, and obviously my skills. You could probably run the gunfire control system as well, or in place of that, I mean, but we'll get to that in a moment. Of course, the propulsion mod, rudder shift, and target acquisition system is what I run on this. So you'll see that I have vigilance as my skill, and you may have noticed I also run hydroacoustic and radar. Yeah, I'm very much a support player when it comes to this. Concealment could work very well with this, and you can get it down to what, like 12.0 with the camo, and then add the module and the 5-point captain skill. I mean, you could get this down pretty low, and that actually changes the gameplay quite a bit, I think, with this. But of course, I do run basic firing training, expert marksman, to try to get as much speed out of those turrets as I can, because I plan on fighting in closer quarters. And again, of course, concealment expert. I'm telling you, one of these days I'm gonna have to try that out with the concealment mod, the upgrade there too. And demolition expert could work very well with this. I think there's a little bit more flexibility with this ship than some of the other USN cruisers, and that's actually kind of exciting, you know. But you know, you do have the option of running defensive fire or hydroacoustic. I've been running hydroacoustic because, frankly, again, I'm rather underwhelmed by the AA. Even when you run the defensive fire, it just doesn't seem to be as strong as I remember back in closed beta, and I'm not entirely sure why, but I do run radar now instead of the catapult fighter, and my god, we'll get to that one much later, but it's quite impressive. So just going over a couple of the camos here too, which look fantastic on this ship. I really like the additional camos they added too. So, and now we have the basketball ones for the NCAA tournament as well, but that brings our concealment down to 12.0. So you can work from there with the additional concealment upgrades and the captain skill. And there's also the November Echo whatever the hell flag, which gives an additional percentage of effectiveness to your AA. So try to stock up on those while you can. Now let's jump into some gameplay here. First clip is actually sent in to me from Chipster, and he kind of missed that shot there because it hit the mountain, but he's in a really bad situation because the ship ahead of him is the Des Moines, the ship to his left, that's a damn Shimakaze. So this is a scenario that really probably shouldn't have played out this way. He does some solid damage against the Des Moines there, but the Des Moines is just shooting HE. If he switched to AP, I doubt any of this would have happened at all, but I'm not sure if Chipster was going for a ram there, but he's hardly got any health, and now he's got to worry about torpedoes. He's getting real close, trying to shoot through the backside of the Des Moines, but gets penetrating damage, not a Citadel, unfortunately. And the Des Moines is totally screwed here. I mean, those turrets can't turn that quickly, and he's between a rock and a hard place, and Citadels, goodbye. Now the Shimakaze, though, this is certainly a hell of a lot closer than you ever want to be to a Shimakaze, and I mean regardless of whatever ship you're in. Luckily he did launch 2 of his 3 racks. I don't know what happened with the 3rd one. Hopefully, or maybe it got knocked out. Chipster does have HE loaded, but he can't fire until he gets a better angle once the Des Moines goes down. So there you go. Now something I want to clarify about this ship, and this applies to the US cruisers such as the Pensacola, the New Orleans, and the Baltimore. They're not good destroyer hunters. I have this set up to find destroyers and to support, but I do not anticipate success when it comes to engaging enemy destroyers, and there's a particular reason for that, and it's the rate of fire. So the USN HE shells, they do okay. They're serviceable, but they're not as powerful as the Japanese HE, and that's, I don't think anybody can disagree with that, of course. The Japanese, I mean, that's their bread and butter, is the HE, and the USN, they just kind of do a bit of everything really well. So when I'm running this in the support capacity, I am not necessarily trying to engage destroyers, because honestly, salvos like this are not that common. You know, I've had a lot of, you know, less than or sub 1000 damage HE salvos, and it's really difficult when you're facing off against, say, an enemy Ibuki or Udaloy, for instance, something like that, and they have the survivability expert, and they have that extra, you know, 3, 4, 5,000 HP. It makes a huge difference. Well, not that much, obviously, but since it's 400 per. But I mean, this is a fantastic salvo, for instance. I got really lucky with that one. I mean, 5,500. That's definitely respectable when it comes to an HE slinging cruiser. And the thing is, you just, if that was a Mogami that I was using there, would have knocked that guy out. I don't have any doubts about that. Now the AP, on the other hand, is pretty damn good, and I've Citadel'd a number of battleships so far with it, and I've been actually pretty surprised what I've been finding with AP on various cruisers again, and I've been really enjoying trying to, you know, engage battleships and stuff when they're, you know, focusing on somebody else and just shredding them for, say, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 11,000, something like that, damage per salvo, because you can rack that damage up really fast, and you'll see that a little bit later. But at this point, I'm on trap and engaging a few too many ships on my own here. So there's an Aoba and a Mikhail Kutuzov, which is a very dangerous ship for the Normans to face. And of course there's a battleship way back there, North Carolina, and a destroyer coming in at me too. So possibly not the best spot for me to be in. I I think I can openly admit that. But luckily, I had some things working for me on this side, such as the triple Citadel salvo against the Kutuzov, which changed the engagement a little bit, and he did miss an important salvo there that may have done a fair bit of damage to me before. So, and again, get another salvo in on the side. No Citadel, but some decent penetrating damage, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to escape the situation, because one way or another, any way that I'm looking at this, I'm going to take some damage, right? So the Aoba is still hitting me, and luckily I get the island between myself and the Kutuzov before he can fire again. Now, certainly have shells coming in from the North Carolina at any moment, and I've got to contend with this little squirrely bastard, the Matsuki back here, so that's an okay result. I mean, if it gets him on fire, forces him to use his repair, I mean, he's a destroyer. That puts my team in a better position to be able to take him out, since he can't, you know, hit the repair button again to get his engines or his rudder going again. So that's important. But this is also a bit of a crucial mistake that could have really blown up in my face, because of the fact that I now have torpedoes behind me. I have a island to my left, so my range of movement here is really limited. And this guy, I don't know why, but he shoots HE instead of AP, and I triple Citadel him. So now I've got to worry about the Kutuzov coming around, because he's got plenty of time to line me up, and the torps are keeping me forced to go a particular direction. I can't really maneuver. I have AP loaded, sling it over to the Kutuzov, and maneuver just in time as well. So I get him, and now I've got a squared up engagement here against the Aoba, and I was freaking out a bit because I thought I was going to beach myself, which this was a video from quite a while ago. Yeah, I still had the beachness name even back then, so yeah, kind of embarrassing, but you know what, it happens a lot. And re-engaging here, get my AP squared up, and, or actually, I'm sorry, yeah, that was AP, and then I switched to HE. So I Citadeled him through the front, and now I'm in a position where I'm just trying to make sure that I don't get hit again, but this could go either way pretty easily. But I've got my HE loaded, and boom. Hit all 9 shells. Yeah, nice. Alright, so now we're on hotspot, and I'm scared as hell because there's the North Carolina right there. Surprise! Have AP loaded. I was anticipating this moment, and boom, 12,000 damage. Again, all 9 shells hit. That's a pretty common scenario with this ship. You tend to get a nice grouping at a particular range, especially against larger targets. I have had a few situations, actually quite a few situations, where I should have been able to hit a destroyer, but the dispersion kind of just went all over the place, and I really wasn't able to hit him for what I was hoping for. And, you know, for whatever reason, it always seems to happen on hotspot, especially, where I just can't seem to knock out an enemy destroyer. But I really feel like this is a ship that's much better suited as a battleship support, like to help other battleships engage enemy battleships, or to engage other cruisers, and obviously try to keep the skies clear. So I've already done a fair amount of damage to this North Carolina. I mean, you know, talking in the 20,000 damage range in just 2 salvos. And I don't know about you guys, but that's a hell of a lot more consistent than a lot of battleship salvos. I mean, granted, he did show me his side, but I just dumped HE on him, got him on fire, and now he's got to use his repair, which he didn't really have to, but now he's engaging chips through it in a relatively, actually, really close engagement, and get another AP salvo in there. Minimal damage, not much happened there. That's actually slapping his Mogami, and yeah, this is also a video from quite a while ago, as you can tell, because I don't have the tracer mods and whatnot. But get another AP salvo, and a good amount of damage. I mean, nearly 30,000, actually, yeah, 30,000 damage in, what, 4 or 5 salvos? I mean, that's pretty damn good by any real standard when you're talking about engaging an enemy battleship. And, I mean, if I were playing a battleship, I would hope to achieve at least that much. But that's in my wildest dreams. You know, you're very rarely going to be able to, you know, pull off those types of shots, because most people these days, they're getting better about not exposing their sides. I mean, it still happens, of course. That will be probably the focus of my next video, by the way. But here we are on North, and this was a really interesting match. So I am running right towards these battleships, and you're going to see the maneuverability of this damn thing in action. And I mean, granted, this is a lot of luck. All these guys had to do was stagger their shots a little bit, like especially the Amagi here. And I mean, look at this, he's actually not even shooting at me. He fired at the cruiser behind me, and he did kill him. So I mean, it was a good shot, but he doesn't really have too much to risk because I don't have torpedoes. So that's something that I'm sure he considered. But at the same time, I have 203mm guns, and they can wreck the shit out of a battleship when you get really close. I've seen, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7 Citadel salvos from cruisers at this level, and when you start talking about the tier 10 ships, I mean, you can get 10 Citadels against the battleship if you're close range. It's no joke, and here I do about 10,000 damage to him. I mean, that's pretty damn good. And I survived that pretty much unscathed too, which is really funny. But now I've got to start engaging the North Carolina and sending AP his way. Pretty solid damage again. But the funny part about this engagement is the fact that I'm dodging all these shots, and then they end up shooting at Freyr behind me in his Amagi, and he just bounces the shells anyways. So they're kind of stuck. And this would be a situation as a battleship player, if you were, say, this North Carolina, I would have switched to HE. If that Amagi, if you had witnessed that Amagi doing what he did and getting very little in the way of results, I would have probably switched over to HE to try to just get some sort of damage and try to, you know, force me out of this attack mode that I'm in, like where I'm just bow on and trying to chase this guy down. And, you know, I have the chance to dump damage into him, even if it's a small amount of damage, it's still damage, while he's on his reload, and I can reload twice. You know, I can get 2 shots off for each one of his salvos. And check this out. There's a really nice dodge right here. Look at that. I had a really good rhythm against these guys, and you know, that's really what it comes down to a lot of times, is if you get in a rhythm against an enemy and you can get those shells to coincide with, like when they fire, to coincide with your movement, and just kind of snake your way through and try to really control the amount of damage that's coming in. I mean, granted, you just never know what's going to happen anyways, but if you're really attempting to do this type of thing, look at that. I mean, just another hell of a dodge. And again, that's anticipation, and like I said, the rhythm, but holy shit, is that a lot of luck too. I mean, there's no way around admitting that. And overall, I would say this is one of my favorite matches that I played in the ship, because basically I hit forward and never stopped. It was a lot of fun. I was just dodging things. It worked out really well. And speaking of dodging, I mean, here's some more of the maneuverability at play here, and it does feel better to me than the Mogami. Maybe not as much as the Atago, and I haven't played the Hipper yet. I'm very close to getting it, but also the new Tier 8 Russian cruiser, the Charlie Chaplin. I know that damn thing is going to turn like a battleship, because that's basically one of the main features of the Russian line, so pretty interesting. And to wrap this up, we're gonna take a look at a replay by Deprived Pickle, a name that everybody should be pretty familiar with. He's a guy that knows a thing or two about the game, but can back it up with some pretty impressive play, as this will show. Now, one of my main things about the New Orleans is that it's not a very good ship on its own. this pretty much proves me wrong. You know, you can be really good with the ship in the right situation, and this match was the right situation, as that Nuremberg unfortunately found out with 5 citadels to his side. And the New Orleans, and really any other cruiser, you don't want to be the center of attention, but if you can get in a position where you're running away, setting people on fire over and over and over again, and making them come to you, that's a bit of a different story. And especially when you're talking about the Russian cruisers that have practically no armor. And I mean, look at this, he's just shredding these guys left and right, and he really lucked out having these guys be his main opponents, as far as having 2 Budionis, you know, Nurembergs. And I mean, that's a fantastic lineup, stuff that you really got to work towards to use AP effectively and really punish these guys for chasing you and exposing their sides like that. But 2,000 base XP in a loss. He had the highest XP in the match, and 189,000 total damage. That's pretty damn impressive. Now, my results aren't anywhere near what he got, but you know, I've been relatively consistent with this. I've had a few really bad matches in it, you know, like 8,000-9,000 damage. I mean, shit that I don't even want to talk about, but it does happen. You know, that's part of the high tier play, really. But as far as the New Orleans is concerned, I think it's an incredibly flexible ship. You know, you have solid AA, you have all these utilities, especially now with radar, to be able to support battleships and cruisers, destroyers, carriers, whatever the case may be. This is one of the most flexible ships in the game, and that's actually pretty damn impressive, being able to engage battleships, being able to engage, you know, enemy cruisers. I do think it weakens a bit against enemy destroyers, but radar does change the game, and we'll see more on that later as I play a bit more high tier cruisers. But yeah, all around a hell of a ship, and just don't get hit, whatever you do. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video today, and I will be streaming at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, so I hope to see you there, and hope you take care, guys, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.